there's two topics that kind of came out of what we've been talking about so far that I think are interesting. One is ransomware, one is cyber insurance. I think it makes sense for us to kind of dive a little bit and talk into both of these. But first, let's chat about ransomware, because everybody's talking about it. I mean, it's on the tip of everybody's tongue here. Yousef, why are people so concerned about ransomware attacks?
And we're talking about it all the time as well. There's a very good reason. Ransomware attacks can be so severe that the losses are very large, very material to organizations, potentially threatening to organizations. And the second reason is the frequency has been increasing. So ransomware is becoming both more likely and more severe over the past couple of years.
So then are you seeing a change? Are you seeing changes in the broader market that would force people to make a change in how they're looking to in their behavior internally to be able to handle this kind of stuff?
Yes, we are, and this comes really through two routes. Firstly, directly, as ransomware has been becoming more and more of an issue, organizations are responding to it, and there's a lot more focus on that within security. And then in addition, there's a secondary effect via the other item we're mentioning, via insurance. The large ransomware losses have come through to the insurer balance sheet. The large insured ransomware losses have led to large payouts from insurers, and this is leading insurers now to rethink the pricing of insurance contracts and also the minimum requirements they would like to see before they sign a policy. Those changes are also leading to a rethink within insured organizations of how they handle the risk, the financial risk of potential ransomware incidents.
So if they're starting to get that better understanding, how can companies start to better prepare, or what can they do to better understand the risk that they're facing in the first place? So
the way we've often helped clients here is by trying to help them understand their exposure. This is, particularly when it comes to the insurance side of this is very much a financial question. You're exposed to these large, potentially very severe attacks. And because these attacks have become more severe and more frequent than they were in previous years, the pricing of insurance has changed, which means that you're probably going to be paying more for cover. Now, what is the gap? What are you exposed to that you weren't exposed to 2 years ago financially? Do you understand the potential financial consequences of a ransomware incident for your organization? Can you compare that to the potential insurance payout in that scenario? Can you identify the controls you would have to uplift in order to bridge that gap? And what is the cost of those controls? How do you compare the cost of spending on controls targeted to ransomware scenarios? How do you compare that cost to the cost of increasing your insurance cover, moving the limits around? Can you see these all in one framework and present it to your board? And that's where quantification comes in.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think one of the things we've always seen when we help customers with the understanding financial risk around ransomware attacks is the assets in the processes that matter most. How do you what are some of the best practices? You guys have done a lot of great work here. How do you help, how can an organization best identify the assets and business processes that are most at risk for ransomware?
I think it's thinking through, understanding how the types of loss that will happen. For example, business interruption, or what are the kinds of costs, what are the loss drivers in a ransomware attack, and how do these relate to the various assets you have? Often you do a two-stage process. You might do one lighter run through with less data, and then you'll deep dive into the areas where there is greater concern or potentially greater exposure, and get a deeper picture in those areas.